Voice of Reason Broadcast Network presents the Nationalist Report. The Nationalist Report brings you interviews and news pertaining to nationalist movements around the world. Now here's your host.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mike Conner from VOR, and this is the Nationalist Report. My co-host today is Mishko Novosel. Mishko, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, my friend?
Very good, thanks. Today, we're going to cover the crisis in Greece, which has been popping up in the news, not just the economic crisis, but the immigration crisis as well. Now, there's a lot of material to cover, so we're going to cover this in two shows. The first show is going to cover the history of modern Greece leading up to the current crisis, and then in the second show, we're going to talk about the crisis proper. Now, to help us understand these issues, we have with us today a special guest from the Europa Network, journalist Aris Arion. Aris, how are you today?
I'm fine.
Aris, I'd like to start our discussion with a little bit of history. Can you take us back to just before the Second World War? What was the situation in Greece, and how did Greece end up entering the Second World War?
First of all, that period of time, Greece had a nationalistic government, and the leader was Ioannis Metaxas. This was a political party that had 7% won in the elections, but that period of time the politics in Greece were controlled by the British factor. So the political parties, the big political parties of Greece, they have decided to give the power to Ioannis Metaxas cause of some national form of emergency. And this was done because England knew that if there was a nationalistic government, then in the coming war, that was something pre-programmed reality, will have a stronger resistance to an enemy. And then Metaxas, when came in the power, of course, made it his own regime, and threw out the politicians, and let's say erased the parliamentary system. So when Italy what wanted reality, didn't want to Greece to become Italy, just wanted to put in some special strategic points of inside Greek territory army troops. So in the war, Greece to play a role of a neutral role, like in Turkey, not to interfere in the war.
Right.
But the government said Greece must have sovereignty, and is not non-acceptable foreign troops to exist inside Greece.
Aris, tell us a little bit more about the Italian ultimatum and how the war got started.
Just is quite interesting for how started the war, how was the leader of that period of time in Greece, because you know, some people, they say, oh, dictator, you know, Ioannis Metaxas, but if you read the books from the people who participated actually in the history, it is an amazing story. In 1940, when the Italian ambassador went to the house of the Greek governor and asked on behalf of Italian government to Italian troops to cross the Greek borders from Albania and to be located in certain areas. And this was also very interesting.
And the Greeks said, no thank you.
No, the answer was not this. the answer, he went in his house, was very interesting, because when he went with his driver outside of the house, and these are written in his, the ambassador wrote a book and describes very, with a very nice way. It was a very poor, house, no guards outside, and said, are you sure, this is the house of the governor? Said the driver, yes, it is. And then they knocked the door and came one man out who was the driver. At the same time, the bodyguard of the governor, and said, well, what do you want? I'm the ambassador, and I have to carry on a very important message, so you must wake up Ioannis Metaxas. And so this man, Ioannis Metaxas, was awakened, and the ambassador entered in the house. He was noticing that it was a very old house, and he was surprised how, the leader, and of Greece was living in such a house. And by the way, I have visited this historical house. And Ioannis Metaxas came, he said, and the Italian ambassador gave the message, which was quite long, written message. Ioannis Metaxas read it, and he was a man that was an old man. And while he was finishing his reading, the ambassador noticed Metaxas, he was started tears to run from his eyes, and answered to him, well, war. This was the answer. He said, no, we are not speaking about war. You can avoid the war. We don't want to, to come in conflict with you. And answered to him, this land is belongs to Greeks. I am the leader of this country, but I do not have the historical right to get a decision, a foreign power to enter inside Greece. And this was quite similar, but on a different